I just finished Resident Evil 1 off stream. If you're interested in watching the full stream, or both streams, because I played Jill and Chris separately, those are in the stream tab here on YouTube. You can just kind of check the live tab and you'll see all the VODs there. But we just wrapped up Resident Evil 1 1996. This was actually my first time ever playing Resident Evil 1 1996. Like, whenever I've wanted to revisit Resident Evil 1, it's always been through the remake, because the remake has existed as long as I've been alive, pretty much. This game came out the year before I was born. So my introduction into Resident Evil as a child was mostly through RE1 Remake and Resident Evil 4. So whenever I wanted to revisit these games, it was always through the remake. I'd never played the original. So with that being said, wow, this game is like so good. It holds up so remarkably well. For a game that is, 30 years old now, like, it's kind of bonkers how well it holds up. Obviously, there are elements that are not so well done. There's the voice acting.
Stop it. Don't open that door.
Don't open that door. There's the overarching, like, story is very transparent, predictable. It's a borderline frustrating that Jill and Chris can pick up a note that almost blatantly says, hey, that Wesker guy's a fucking asshole, and then they're like, I wonder what the root cause of all this is. It's hilarious. It's genuinely hilarious. So yeah, despite the voice acting, obviously the graphics are muddied and old given, the age of the game. I did play this on the PC version through GOG, so if you want to revisit the Resident Evil games, I think for a couple more days from when this is uploaded, they are half off. So you can get Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3 for like $12. Killer deal, honestly. I was very happy that was available. Hopped on it right away because I really wanted to replay these games. Mostly I wanted to play Resident Evil 2 because that's been a long time favorite of mine. So yeah, this game really surprised me. The music is wonderful. I mean, like, Resident Evil's always had really good music, but the atmosphere of the original is so wonderful, so nice. I obviously, like, I've heard a lot of these tracks through Resident Evil Remake, but hearing like the original versions was really wonderful. And obviously I didn't play the director's cut with the 17 clowns fucking in the basement theme song. But I still was really impressed by how the music held up, by the variety and the exploration, how satisfying it was to find all these items and connect everything together. And for a puzzle-focused game, even in Resident Evil 1 Remake and Resident Evil 2, there are times where you're just like, man, I kind of have lost track of where things are. I just don't really know where I'm supposed to go next. I feel like that never happens in the original Resident Evil 1. It is small and it's a short game. Our playthroughs were each part was under 3 hours. Even with it being condensed down and so much smaller than Resident Evil 1 Remake, while that does make the overall content maybe lesser, it did make the process of getting from point A to point B very streamlined and satisfying and borderline frictionless. And for a 1996 game, like, frictionless is not something you'd expect to be describing one of them as. It's kind of crazy. There are definitely still elements of the game that don't hold up. We've already talked about the voice acting. There's the tedium of the menu navigation at times. Playing as Chris and having to think about your inventory because you only have 6 spots, it adds an element of challenge and an element of stress to the game. But it also can downright be tedious in the points where it's like, where you need to go, what items you need. You just don't really have enough inventory spaces to take everything there and get it done. I think I kind of appreciate now that a lot of these other games will either give you just more inventory or they'll slot certain things like treasures and stuff into their own category, because navigating your menus with all this stuff on it can sometimes be just kind of downright tedious. There's probably too many push puzzles. Like, there are just so many puzzles that are push a thing here, push a thing there, get up on it. Even for as short as this game was, you can't help but admit that, like, not every single section of the game needed a push puzzle. You don't open the game with a push puzzle and then immediately have another push puzzle in the next area and then follow that up with a push puzzle. The bosses themselves are obviously very constrained by what they were able to do. With your character being so limited in movement options, you don't really want to frustrate players by having these like crazy boss encounters that they don't really know how to handle. So there's an element of that they couldn't help. You know, the bosses can't be crazy. My biggest like qualm, I guess, with this game, and I can see why it isn't this way in Resident Evil 1 Remake, but Jill's playthrough is such like a nothing burger, where it's like, yeah, you get Barry, which I guess is kind of fun that you just get like this alternate character to work around. But when we did Jill's playthrough, like, we didn't get to do the final fight with Tyrant. The game was like just super easy. Like, I only died because I wasn't paying attention. You know, the extra inventory slots are really easy to utilize. There's just so many aspects of Jill's playthrough that make everything just really, really easy, and to the point of like, it really loses that horror element. In fact, she doesn't get like the final boss fight with Tyrant, or at least I didn't in my playthrough. Maybe there's a way that you can trigger that I missed, but I did not get the option to do the final boss fight with Tyrant on my Jill playthrough that I did with Chris. Which was a super satisfying way to end it. And then also like the credits, like when I did Jill's ending, I didn't get like a full credits. When I at the end of Chris's ending, you get like this picture of Chris like afterwards. Those are such cool elements that Chris gets that Jill didn't. It made her feel, you know, lesser in a sense, which was really frustrating, especially for a character that, you know, over the next 30 years that they would, you know, work on this franchise, kind of did get the you know, shaft a little bit. Jill does not get the same level of respect as Chris and Leon, which is really unfortunate. Hell, you could argue Jill doesn't get as much as Claire does nowadays, which is insane, but it is what it is. The game definitely has a goofy factor to it. Zombies are very easily to maneuver around. The shark zombies are like silly. Like, that is just one of the funniest things I've ever seen. The spiders are genuinely frightening, you know, just dealing with them, and the poison and everything. The dogs, dogs in Jill's playthrough went down in like 4 shots, and I didn't even think about them. As soon as I went to Chris's playthrough, and it took like 8 pistol shots to kill a dog, it was like, oh shit. Also, there was way more dogs than before. When you fought hunters, there were way more hunters in Chris's playthrough. Like, if you're gonna revisit this game and you only have time to do one, there is literally no reason to play Jill's route. It like doesn't benefit you in any way to experience this game through Jill. And I think that's really frustrating. I think that is frustrating, and I'm really glad that is not the way they handled Resident Evil 1 Remake, that they gave Jill a lot more respect by letting her be her own character and actually get satisfying endings and stuff. I prefer to play as Jill because, let's be honest, the series doesn't give you as many opportunities to play as Jill and be cool. And in my opinion, RE1 is Jill's best design. I love the beret. Hell, I even cosplayed as Jill at one point, and my wife as Nemesis, which was really awesome. I love that cosplay. I love those pictures. But yeah, I think the game actually does hold up remarkably well. It was super fun to play through. You know, a recent game that came out, not super recent, but Crow Country, you know, when I played it, I felt like it was emulating a Resident Evil style for sure. But because I was thinking of RE1 Remake, it was like not as one-to-one. But after playing this version, like, it is much easier to see the comparisons between Crow Country and RE1. And it's easy to see how a lot of the ideas here can hold up over time. I think all in all, it's just really, really impressive. This was quite the way to kick off our retrospective here. On Monday, we're going to be taking a look at RE2 live on stream, and we're going to be spending a lot of time with RE2 because it's the original RE2 is one of my absolute favorites, and also it's, you know, you could argue that it may be the most content-filled Resident Evil game prior to RE4. You know, even compared to RE4 has a really long campaign, but like, even compared to that, Resident Evil 2 has a lot of content. So I'm really excited to play RE2. We'll kind of continue to add on to this retrospective and go back through these games, show you some of the fun moments from the streams. And like I said, if you want to check out the full stream, the full VOD, that's all in the live tab here on YouTube. And yeah, if you want to join us for Resident Evil 2, we'll be live Monday, 12 to 5 Central is kind of what I'm aiming for. And we're going to try to get through all the Resident Evil games that we can before Requiem comes out. So hopefully I'll see you there. Thank you guys for watching the video. Love Resident Evil, man. This is I'm so excited. We're just in such an exciting time right now. I'm really happy to be working on content and be playing and hanging out with my friends on stream and playing some games that I really, really love. So hopefully I'll see you there. If not, either way, see you next time. Peace.